It is the only sport on the planet that makes us equal to able-bodied people. The freedom of that, the liberation of actually competing against everybody, not just a subsect of humanity. I did 12 marathons in 12 months. I'm the only quadriplegic that's a rescue scuba diver. I skydive. I do a lot of fun stuff. This was the first time where I was like, I'm equal.
Today, I finally welcome a badass pro race car driver to the Checkup podcast with a really cool story to share. Torsten Gross suffered a life-altering injury at just 15 years old and has spent the last 30 years living with C6 quadriplegia. This means that he has no control over his lower body and limited movement below his neck, so no pedals for this legend. Because of his drive to win, and a drive to drive, Torsten has become an icon in the racing world, documented in a new series on Amazon called Just Hands. On this episode, Torsten tells me all about that traumatic injury, the rigorous rehab he had endured in the US and Germany, and how badly he'd kick my butt on a track when we race. We'll see about that. But please join me in welcoming Torsten Gross to the Checkup podcast. You're setting a lot of firsts for our podcast today. First, number one, our first race car driver.
Great.
On the channel, which is exciting given I have a lot of passion for driving cars. And you're also, I believe, the first person on the podcast to have died, which is a miracle that you're here.
Or science.
Or science. But let's talk about how we got here.
Yeah.
What was the situation that culminated to you losing your life, being brought back to life, and now sitting here chatting with us today?
Yeah, it's that day. Let me think about what that day actually was. So 7/11/94, my mother and I went to the Bahamas.
Okay.
And I dove in the ocean. Unfortunately, it was only 3 feet deep. I thought it was about 7 feet deep. So when the sun beats down on very clear water, it magnifies it. So I thought it was exponentially deeper than it was. And did a deep water dive instead of a shallow water dive, which everyone thinks that sand is soft. It's soft for about an inch, maybe 2 inches, and then becomes soft again in China when you go all the way through the earth. Yeah. But before that, it's real hard, right? And so that's how I broke my neck, my C6, and I drowned. And that's
wow. And
happened.
then were you found instantly? Was this witnessed? What was the situation there?
So we were only in the Bahamas for about an hour and a half, and literally have touchdown of the plane. I separated myself from my mother where she went to go unpack, and I went to play volleyball on the beach. And I was playing volleyball with a newlywed couple, and before I even dove into the water, I was playing with them, but I was like, I want to go dive in. First dive, it happened, right? So they thought I was kidding around, that I was just kind of floating there.
And how old were you at the time?
I was 15.
Wow. Okay.
And
so you were excited, in good shape, ready to swim away?
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, I dove in the ocean thousands of times, right? Like that, this wasn't something new, but because of the magnification, it wasn't something that it was a thing where I thought it was way deeper than it actually was. And then talk about miracles though, they pulled me out. Mm-hmm. And the couple did. And they basically wanted me to shake it off, right? And after they resuscitated me. But there happened to be an anesthesiologist 100 feet down the beach. And he came running. I was like, no. If you move his head, he will undoubtedly die, because the shards on my neck were so close to my aorta that I would have immediately bled out. Immediately. So no, stable, right? Stable head. Mm-hmm. This is how we're going to move him. And, there were multiple factors that had to come together that bring me to today. But I will also finish off this in saying that I believe in hindsight was the best day of my life.
Wow. That's heavy. Heavy statement to make. What did the resuscitation look like? Obviously, you weren't aware of it, but what was the information given to you after the fact?
Good question. I actually don't even know, right? Because it happened so quickly, from Club Med down there to the hospital to, I was transported up to Valhalla Medical Center from the Bahamas, because they didn't have what was really needed for me to be triaged, if you will. And again, this is from a 31 years post account, right? So pretty sure some of what I'm saying may be wrong, but going to the ER there, it was get him stable, get him ready to be moved, And then again, if I recall correctly, it was 18 hours later that I was in Valhalla Medical Center in a prop plane, going up there.
Where is that?
In Valhalla,
Yeah.
in White Plains or Westchester. So about, I'd say 30 to 45 minutes away from here, north of New York City.
So that's a far flight.
It was.
Was that a medical transport?
It was.
Wow, okay.
And to their chagrin, I was really hot and they didn't want to give me any food because if I swallowed, potential of one of the shards to do something inside my body. And so they kept giving me ice and they said, well, you need to suck on this. And what did I do? I just kept swallowing them because they drugged you up so much that I didn't know what I was doing. But I do remember that. That was an adventurous flight.
Wow. Do you remember a lot of pain in that moment or?
Nothing. I mean, when from what I understand, when you have a spinal cord injury, that a lot of the fluid in your spine will just wrap itself around the spinal cord. And that's from what I know is protection. So I actually couldn't feel anything from my neck down, even though now I'm chest down, right? But it was your body's protective mechanism that allowed me to not feel anything at all. And actually, while I was laying there, they would say, do you feel this? Do you feel this? Do you feel this? Until they got to here, and I was able to see that. And I smiled and I said, oh, looks like I'm not getting up from this one, huh? Like, not the line you would expect a 15-year-old to say, but it is what it is. It happened. I kind of went along with it, but that was the moment I realized, all right, I'm not getting up and shaking this one off.
Despite the fact that you were being jokey, not as serious in speaking to the medical professionals, were you scared?
No, I mean, you have a lot of adrenaline. Right. And adrenaline isn't just when something obviously happens that's really intense. Adrenaline is there to also protect your body and protect your mind. And I'm sure I had a massive jolt of adrenaline where, was it scary? Mildly, like, is more curiosity and not knowing why they're doing this, that, and the other thing that I wanted to know. I can't feel it. Why? What are they doing? That's weird. But it was never a fear thing because also you just don't know.
Right.
They never tell you, right, at that moment. You are now a C6 quadriplegic. This is now what's going to be your life. This is what's going to happen. It just becomes this, well, who knows? Things could change. Let's just get you stable. Okay, cool. And then you get stable and then go, okay, now we're going to do the surgery. Now we're going to get you to rehab. Things are going to change. Okay, cool. It just keeps going on and on like that.
And I can imagine that might frustrate some people not getting clear answers. But the reality, what the medical team did with you was the right thing in a sense, because whenever you have a neurologic injury, especially one as serious as that, you don't know what the outcomes will be. And the only way you'll know is through the clinical presentation, the clinical recovery, not based off of imaging or lab tests, where in some conditions, perhaps you can give a clearer prognosis based on labs or imaging. Here, you have to just wait and see. And that is so frustrating to patients and families. But it seemed like you weren't frustrated. You were saying, they don't know, I don't know, let's see what happens.
Well, I mean, it takes 2 to 3 years for regeneration to happen in your spinal cord. So you always have to wait that one out, right, to see what happens. I agree that progression in rehab is a thing, but it took me 8 years to put my socks on myself, right? So progression continues to happen, but I would argue that the same thing happens in life, right? When you're young to middle to old, like things are changing. Maybe not as obvious as it was for me, right? But everything continues to change. And they say the only thing that doesn't change is change itself, right? And so I think I learned how to manage that fairly well. That change is just going to happen, And
did you always have that? I mean, as a 15-year-old, that's a mature place to be, man. Like most 15-year-olds that I have as patients, my nephews, they're not that open to change as it seems like you might have been.
No, I'll take the compliment, but it's not deserved because I think there was an insight given to me by my wife that is very smart, and that is I am somebody who needs to rebel against what's expected of me. And how that manifested itself is I grew up in Greenwich, in Bronxville and in Germany, a fairly well-to-do lifestyle, right? Not rich by any means, but doing okay. So what was expected of me is be a good student, be a proper student, go to a good school, et cetera, et cetera. So what did I do? I tried my best to be a bad student, right? I tried my best to do everything that they didn't want.
Right.
But how that manifested itself on the other side is, as a quadriplegic, they're like, well, you're never going to live alone by yourself. You are always going to have an aide. This is you're never going to be as good as a paraplegic, so on and so forth. I'm like, you know what? F you, right? Like, how fast did that paraplegic put on his pants? Watch me put it on faster, right? Like, and so since my accident, my rebellion has been against what the expectations are of me as a quad. That's big fuel, especially for a 15-year-old, right? You want to tell me no? Go ahead.
It's so interesting because I like studying what motivates people, especially when it comes to my career as a family medicine physician, where I'm trying to help people make healthy changes in their life. And a lot of times they're perhaps bullied or told that they can't, or people are fat phobic around them if it's in regards to their weight, and that demotivates them. But you're one of those individuals that is almost motivated by that negative energy or the opposite energy. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I see my wife rolling her eyes right now, right? Like I feel that wherever she is right now, she's going, yeah. You grow up with the last name Gross. Mm-hmm. Torsten, you are gross, is your middle initial is, and I was always the youngest kid. I was picked on quite a bit. And so you get this proving attitude where, like, well, if you're going to say I can't do it, I need to prove it to you. Mm-hmm. Right. And, I think that's what it was. But you also have to remember at 15, you're going through multiple life stages.
Right.
Right. And things are changing in and of themselves.
And you're moving. Right. It sounds like you moved from
Germany. We were moving, right, to Germany and then back again. And people ask me, they're like, oh, you're 15. Was that hard, to have an accident? I would say it's actually harder when you're older. Because
adaptation isn't as good, perhaps.
Exactly, right? You're after like 25 to 28, you've got kids, you've started a career. Things are fairly regimented, right? Mm-hmm. Before that, middle school to high school to college first career, then your first real girlfriend or boyfriend, right? Things change. The wheelchair went with me on the change. Mm-hmm. Right. So I didn't have to adapt to the chair because I was adapting to the situation. The chair happened to be there. When you're a little bit older, I think that's a little harder to do. Right. And so if you have that mindset already, that things are changing, and I'm moving to Germany, changing, moving now to Greenwich, changing, right? You just kind of accept it.
Yeah. I'm always curious from the insurance side of things, if insurance treats patients well, if it covers what conditions they have. We've on the channel even covered some individuals who, like, teacher, young, healthy, had a heart attack, unplanned, even though lived a healthy lifestyle, was an athlete, ended up going to an out-of-network hospital. Insurance said, we're not paying, and it doesn't make any sense because covered, healthy, how is this happening? How are they in debt? It ended up getting cleared out because media got involved, obviously. But I'm curious, taking a plane from Club Med to New York, it's an emergency medical plane. How does that impact insurance coverage? Did you have travel insurance? That curiosity from the audience is definitely there on that.
Yeah, this is the moment where I say I am incredibly fortunate to have the family that I did growing up. It is nothing more than that. I had, my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and she fought daily with the insurance companies. And that's not an exaggeration. Daily. And she wouldn't give up.
Because they weren't willing to pay, or what was happening?
Yeah, for certain things, right? Like, you won't pay for that. Well, I'm just going to go in on you, and I'm going to make it that you will pay for that. That it's a full-time job going after the insurance companies, because they are, from what I can see from the outside, conditioned to say no as many times as they can until they are pressured to say yes. that's not great, right? And that's very unfortunate. Not everyone has a mother that would be able to stay home and make it her full-time job. Or again, fortunate. It's very humbling to have to sort of say this. And if they wouldn't pay for it, have a father that in a family that could afford what I needed. And again, that's not beyond me to understand that that's not a normal situation, and I'm grateful for that because I was able to go to multiple different rehabs, right? Sometimes on our dime, sometimes on theirs. I was able to get the best medical equipment with very good doctors. And as a C6 quad that lives alone now, or has the ability to be independent, I can't say that would be true if I was not fortunate.
Yeah, that's really tough. And obviously you share a lot of gratitude with your family and those who have supported you, not just financially, but the fact that your mom was there making those arguments on your behalf, which I encourage all my patients to do. Whenever there's a dispute, keep fighting, keep fighting. I know that sounds terrible that they have to do that, but that is the best advice I can give. The fact that you even have someone to advocate for you. A lot of my patients are single parents, living on their own, perhaps have mental health conditions, and they're already demotivated from what's going on in their life. I'm trying to motivate them to fight, to get things covered. It's a losing battle sometimes, and it's very, very disappointing is probably too soft of a word there. So,
look, two things to that. One is you only do the hard thing if the thing you are doing is harder than the change, right? Like you will change if what you normally do is too hard, then you'll change. But I will also say I don't have actually a relationship with my mom anymore because it took such a toll on us. Like I used to be a mama's boy, and it took such a toll on us because she wouldn't tie my shoes. She wouldn't put on my socks. She wouldn't do certain things. She made me do it. And at 15, 16, 17, 18, even into college, when you come home, that creates massive stress on a relationship. Massive. I didn't have respect for that when I was younger, right? That the toll it's taking on the family, not just me. It's a hard thing to admit, to say that, a relationship takes its toll. You can cut this out, not a message that, you want to portray to your audience, because then people are wondering, well, if I do attack the situation, will I lose that person? I would argue that it is worth it, right? Because it is getting somebody to where they need to be, and sometimes tough love is just necessary, but the outcome of tough love can be very difficult. I've never said that publicly before.
Yeah, look, not only is it normal within a family to have discourse to varying degrees.
Sure.
Add the level of stress, and not just the severity of the stress, but the duration of that stress and the adaptation that needs to happen to said stress. That would put a toll on anyone and anyone's relationship. So I can understand why that happened.
But if I may, one of the things I say is everybody's got a wheelchair. Whether you have depression or PTSD, or you lost a child, or you have Tourette's, right? Everybody's got that thing that holds them back, right? But that thing is also the thing that permeates to their family as well, right? Depression, that affects the whole family, right? Not just the person that has depression. Tourette's, well, many people know what Tourette's is. The world doesn't. Imagine being in the world and you're screaming bad words, right? You look like a jerk.
Right.
That affects the family as well. And they can't do anything about it. In depression, you can't do anything about it, right? So I would argue that everybody's got their wheelchair. Everybody's got their thing that I went through. Mine just happened to be instantaneous, right? Mine was a moment in time that I can look back and go, 7/11/94 in the morning in the Bahamas. Depression, you can't do that, right? Tourette's you're born with, as far as I know. Losing a child, yeah, there's a date to that. But like that, those are things that really weigh on a family. So all these things change the dynamics. Mine happened also come when I was 15, and I was a very precocious and difficult child. And so that just added exponential more stress.
Do you think there is ever a possibility of that relationship rebuilding or changing?
For the last 10 years, mentally, she's been kind of, maybe let's call it 5 years, she's been deteriorating. So unfortunately, no, I don't think so. But I've also come to terms with that, right? Like relationships, whether they're blood or not, like I go into them going, I'm either going to come out neutral from this conversation or better. If I come out negative every single time, then that is the situation of a relationship that I'm not going to keep moving forward with. And it's something that, I'm saying within a few minutes of a conversation, but took months and years to come to terms with. Right. So it's not like saying, well, we don't have a relationship and that was an easy choice. It was certainly hard. And I respect her to no end, right? Like she did, the job with me that nobody could have done. She was probably the only person who was fit for it. And I'll forever be grateful for that, forever. But you have to question then how a relationship works even after that. You can't just look at a situation and go, well, they did that, and therefore I should forget everything else.
Right.
It's a hard one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very hard. And probably going through your rehab journey, she was a big part of that. It seems like she was motivating you with tough love. What was the rehab journey like? When did you realize this would take enormous effort on your part? Life would change. What was that moment like early on for you?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I did 5 months, I think, in Burke rehab. So we were on the way to moving to Germany when this happened, right? So we actually didn't have a house anymore. So my mother had to stay with friends in their basement while I went to Burke rehab. From Burke rehab, they transferred me over outside of Hamburg, Germany, to another rehab that I went for 3 or 4 months as well. So, and mind you, this is 31 years ago. The amount of rehab is necessary. The BS rehab that exists right now in the world of let's get them triaged, let's just put them in an everyday chair and let's get them out within a month. And I guarantee you I'm going to get yelled at going a month is even way too long, right? I guarantee you it's 2 or 3 weeks. I don't understand that. I really don't understand that because your brain is still working through this, like what's happening. Your body is changing. Your body first digresses, right? Like you're losing your muscles and all that. Your organs are changing and whatnot to figure out the situation that it's in. Great. Now, once that slows down a little bit, now you can start your rehab. At that point, you're already out, right? And I was really fortunate to have almost a year. But I then went back to I went to the international school in Hamburg. As at that point, 16-year-old kid, you have nothing else to think about. You're just thinking about school. No, I wasn't thinking about school. Girls.
Okay.
And hanging, right? Hanging out. Pretty obvious, objectives for a 15-year-old.
Of course.
And so your brain is not wheelchair, wheelchair, wheelchair. Your brain is, let me do what everybody else is doing and I'll figure it all out later. And I think that's actually a good thing. If you dwell, that'll just eat you alive. It'll eat
the
you
other
alive.
students or the emotion?
Emotions to me, right? Like if I just sat there and thought about it, one of the reasons why I keep busy is not because of my disability. That's so long gone, right? It's now just normal for me. But idle hands, right? Devil's playground. Like if I just sit and do nothing, I become destructive. First to myself, right? And then to others. And I think we all do that, right? Because you start to question things, wallow, right? In self-pity. Why do I need that, right? So I never really had the chance. You know what I mean?
Do you think had you had that chance, it would have helped, hurt, or been neutral?
I think if you allow yourself too long to think about something, you actually don't allow yourself to fail. And what I mean by that is I'm a big proponent of failure. I love failure. In our society, we don't allow ourselves to fail, right? So think about when you win, it's like, yes, I won. Here's why I won. When you fail, an hour-long dissertation as to why you failed, right? Which is so silly because no one wins without failing a lot. But if you sit there just thinking, you're going to think about every reason why you fail, right? Every reason why what you're planning is not going to work. I'm somebody who just kind of goes, I tell everybody what I want to do. At that point, it's too late. I've not told you what I want to do. And then I just go figure it out. And if I wait too long, if I let things stir too much, I'm talking myself out of everything that I want to do. You know, and actually this here says courage over confidence. And to me, I've always said in my life that how can you have courage without trying, right? So courage comes on the other side of trying. And this is a step forward to that, right? Where until I have courage to go do something, I can never be confident in it. I'll just never be confident. How can you be? You've never tried it. So I think one of my strengths is the acceptance of failure and the courage to keep moving on from that.
So failure before confidence.
Always, right? And to me, if you start with the expectation of failure, you actually can't fail. But then you do it once, even if you failed, then you realize, that was easier than I thought it would be. And the fear of doing something is always greater than the thing itself. And Sam's going to know this because he just followed me on Instagram and I literally posted this yesterday. So literally, because when I give talks, this is one of the biggest things I talk about, right? I've been fired 4 times, right? And life's been good for me, you know, work-wise. Who says that they got fired 4 times? I did. On a resume, that's not awesome. I'm okay with that, right? Because I was just trying different things. I learned different ways. So to me, stopping is deadly.
You said an important qualifier that I think is good for the audience to focus on. It seems like you're not saying don't think about what happened to you, don't have some self-pity, don't reflect on what has happened. It's don't reflect on it for too long. You said too long or too much. And I think that's an important point because if you start getting into that cycle of not moving forward, of not taking that next step to put on your shoes and do something, it can actually end up be the reason why you're holding yourself back.
100%.
So I think that's an important qualifier.
And it's my reality, right? Like I think we like to cloak our realities, right? Like this is never going to change, right? And I always get the tilted head and the awe, right? And I'm like, why? Like, cool. This is now my life moving on. Our lives have changed from when we were 15 to adulthood, right? And that's okay. It's not accepting reality that holds you back. So yeah, I definitely had to accept it. Are there hard times? Yes.
Tell me about one of those hard times.
Look, there were moments in my life especially when I was younger, where travel was definitely harder. Where, you know, going on vacations with friends, where they're going to beaches, I'm not the best on sand, right? Like, or they're climbing or they're doing something very a physical activity. I can't go, right? That's since changed, right? Like I was on a plane almost every other day for a couple of years, right? So I know how to travel. I know how to get to where I want to go, right? Which I think we'll talk about that a little later, sure. Right? Like, and especially if you tell me no, like, you know, I'll figure it out. But that becomes hard not to be able to do what other people can do, especially when you're younger.
Is it because of the isolation component of that?
No, it's it's the jealousy component, right? Like, look, dead people want to be quadriplegics, quads want to be paras want to walk, walking people want to be Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he wants to be God, right? Like, so there's always a level above you, right? Yeah. That we're always looking for. And it's so destructive to only be looking up.
Right.
When if I take a moment and look down, I go, wow, I am so grateful. Just like this is, I live a life that I never thought I'd be living. Whoa, right? But what do? I only look up and I go, oh, I want to be that guy, you know, and like I want that car. That to me is what we all have, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. That I'm like, well, I want to be with them. I want to do that. Even if they come back and they're like, that vacation was horrible. I'm like, I wish I had a horrible vacation like you did. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's still what's going through my head. So it's more that than isolation. I'm the last to be isolated. I talk too much and I'm way too A-type and way too much of an extrovert to ever feel lonely.
So does that mean you're more focused on the present than you are on perhaps the past or the future?
I am now very, I now concentrate on the present. And that is only a 10-year-old thing. And that's because I do transcendental meditation, right? Which is what my tattoo is. And the tattoo actually says, it's Sanskrit for take it easy, take it as it comes. Because I didn't take things easy, nor did I take things as they came, right? So when Maharshi Yogi said this, right, the founder, I think, of TM, that resonated with me greatly because that basically says concentrate on the present, right? You're right here, right now. Take it easy, right? They're going to come at you. Do I have goals for the future? Yes, I'm incredibly future driven, but it doesn't mean that I don't have hyper respect of the current moment. And also no regret for the past because I did what I did and I could stew on my accident and have massive regret for jumping into the water. I did it. Why am I gonna stew over that? It happened. And so does everything else in life, right? Do I wish things had changed differently? 100%. You're allowed to respect that part of your life, right? But it doesn't mean that I need to regret it and only use it to change moving forward. And the only way you can change is by the present.
Yeah. How do you hold those two thoughts simultaneously? Because I think that's very interesting. I struggle with this a lot. The idea that, sure, you wish things have gone differently, but at the same time, at the beginning of the conversation, you said you're so grateful for what happened that day. Mm-hmm. Those thoughts seem like they're counterintuitive to one another, to coexist. Because one is, I wish things were different, and the other one's like, no, I'm so happy things happened this way. So how do you hold both of those beliefs? You're
thinking of them on equally on a whole timeline. Mm-hmm. Do I wish things had been different that day? Yeah, I'd still be walking, right? But when I think about all the things that I've gotten to do, I now look at them and go, wow, like that's, even I impress myself. Like that sounds like, but like even I look back and go, I did what? Like, what? You know, like how is that possible that I did that? Without my accident, without having had happen what happened, I wouldn't be who I am today. That includes personality too. Right? I wouldn't be with my wife, right? Like I wouldn't have the life that I live if it weren't for my chair, right? And so we look at things as 100%, but they're never always 100%.
Right.
Right? And that you're allowed to have, I wish, differences while also saying that it's a great day because I'm fortunate to what I get to be able to do. It's when you want one or the other. That's where things start to struggle in your mind.
Right. So you're saying it micro, you might have wished something was different, but macro, you're grateful the journey
100%.
In its entirety.
Yes. Because I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have the friends that I have. I was a bad kid that had bad grades that was most likely going to do something that didn't amount to much. And not to say that my legacy hopefully will be a whole lot better than that, but I hope it is because now I get to help other people doing a whole lot of things that make them grateful and happy. And me, and too, right? That I get to do things that make me grateful and happy. I don't think I would be doing that if I were walking. Now, I also don't know.
Right.
And that's the important thing to go, well, if I just dwell on that, maybe I could have been Arnold Schwarzenegger, but chances are probably not, but maybe.
Yeah.
But how futile of an effort is that to dwell on that? That's silly.
Makes sense. There's a lot I want to get to outside of your current journey of where you are athletically now, your wife. Before we get to that, I want to ask someone who received medical care here in the United States and someone who received medical care in Germany, what are the differences?
Germany all day long.
Wow.
Zero question about that. The medical system over there, while they might complain about it, they don't live here.
The grass is always greener, right?
Nope, the grass is definitely greener over there. Let's be honest.
Okay.
We get called out for socialism and Obamacare is BS and blah blah, and taxes. I'm like, what are your taxes paying for? Right? Like, what bothers me is that something happens to you. You now go to the hospital and you're like, well, I've got this big debt that I now need to pay. Cool. In Germany, you don't. Right? Like in Germany, things are taken care of. If I sneeze too hard, they'll give me a tissue, right? Like they will probably argue that they have to argue for things, but until you live here and understand that you're arguing for everything. Over there, their taxes pay for that. And everybody has a medical incident, whether it's breaking their neck or something in between, right? Or sneezing too hard and something in between.
Sure.
Everybody's got a thing. And then we complain that our insurance premiums are too high and that they won't cover anything. Well, because you're not paying for it. How are they going to pay for that? So in Germany, all day long, they didn't question rehab for me. They didn't question my second rehab that I went to. They didn't question my outpatient rehab. There was really nothing. I mean, I'm probably simplifying it a little too much.
Well,
right?
You're talking about it from the insurance health care side.
Yes.
I'm curious about the actual medical care. Any differences there? From provider's sake, hospital's sake, facility's sake?
I mean, my first thought wanted to say, well, it's a first world country like we are, and so therefore there's a lot of overlap, right?
Yeah.
But now that I'm thinking about it, though, I went through, call it non-traditional techniques as well, like Reiki and Voitra. That was something
here
that,
or there?
There.
Oh, okay.
That's something that would never happen here. And I wish other people would, right? Can I tell you exactly what happened with Reiki and Voitra that made things a little bit different for me? No, because I was on my journey of getting better. So it's hard to know what factors helped and did not help in that journey. But I went through it and boy, did I learn a lot there. And at least it gave me other perspectives that other things are possible, not just popping a pill.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, there's vocal supporters of those alternative therapies and complementary therapies here in the United States. The problem in the United States being that we're a capitalist nation and so heavy capitalist in some regards, that it starts with good intention. A lot of these complementary care procedures, like helping someone who's undergoing a serious diagnosis or a serious accident. And then it starts spreading to what can we sell to the majority of the public and trick them away from regular medicine. And that's where the snake oil stuff starts really creeping into the now creating harms as opposed to creating benefits. So I can understand how from your perspective, it's like we need to do better with it in the United States. Yet on my channel, I sometimes am very negative sound bites. At least I've said negative things about some of those treatments because I've seen the flip side where I can name you literally one patient I have right now who has pretty advanced prostate cancer, is under the firm belief that he should not get it surgically removed, despite the advice of multiple surgeons who say that he should, because he believes that it will spread if they cut into it, which hasn't been borne about by scientific evidence. And he went to see an Ayurvedic practitioner who is now infusing his bladder with herbs and telling him avoid traditional medicine and potentially shortening his lifespan, making things worse, giving guidance that really doesn't make medical sense. And I worry about this individual. Have they fallen victim to one of these practitioners?
Yes, but at least when he pees, it's going to smell like basil, right? So,
I didn't think about that benefit.
there are benefits to everything, right? Look, I think anecdote isn't plural for data, right? So yes, there are outliers to a degree, for absolutely. But I think your point is also valid that in our society now, we are actually not further apart from each other than we were 30 years ago. What we are, though, is we have access to information that actually justifies our good or bad thinking more so than we had 30 years ago.
Right.
So now I've got 100 sources that say that the world is flat. So the world is flat, right? Because I have 50 sources that'll tell you that it is. But I have 50 sources that'll tell you that it's round. These beliefs still happened way back when, but like the digging your heels in has become exponentially more because of, I'm going to use the air quotes, fact, right? Because what's fact these days, unfortunately?
Yeah. What is truth? What is reality has become tough to decipher. In the age of social media, I think that's fueled a lot of the discourse. Because in order to become popular on social media, you either have to challenge a fact, you have to create your own fact, create outrage surrounding a fact, and that's how you get a lot of viewership.
Which one did you do?
I fought back in defense of fact.
Okay.
Which has been a weird journey because initially it started with a lot of, this is boring, basic science stuff. We actually got fired when we started our YouTube channel after the first year by a production partner. And then as time went on, we just bought into this notion and we hit success. Not because people suddenly said, okay, now we want to hear from a doctor, because we adapted to what the platforms and what the audience wanted.
Sure.
We gave them content in the forms that they wanted to see it. We paired it with pop culture. We made it funny. I was self-deprecating.
Sure.
And that's what made it watchable. Not the fact that we were talking about facts.
I wish the media would have a different tone when they talk about, actress has breast cancer, eats grapes every day, for a year and no longer has breast cancer, or whatever silly thing that is.
Sensational headlines.
Is sensationalism of it, because now people are taking analogy or anecdote and making that data.
Yeah.
No, that's a person that did that. Pretty sure if they didn't eat grapes, probably would have gotten rid of the breast cancer. You know what I mean? And that's important to understand, but that's not where we're at today.
Yeah, it's very hard to separate truth from fiction as a non-scientific person. Because in science, we have really core rules where you kind of can't separate fact from fiction. There is a hierarchy of evidence. And if that's not taught universally, it's easy to say, well, if this person said it and you're saying it, why should I trust you over them?
I disagree with you, though. Look at what's happening right now in the government, right? There's loads of data that's out there, yet we are still saying no vaccines, right? Or you don't need to vax, or removing certain things from society because fact is being spun. While I'd like to agree with you that 1 + 1 is 2 and that is just the accepted fact, unfortunately it's not, because I could say, well, 4 - 2 is still 2, and now it looks completely different. Right. And that's the unfortunate part. I wish fact were actually fact and respected as fact. It's just not, so.
Yeah, I guess words have different definitions to a lot of people.
And that's the problem. Right. And not only definitions, though, it depends on how you're receiving the information as well. I mean, we all come with our own internal bias.
Right.
However that was formed. Right. And so no matter what, if I think that vaccines are not good and you're going to tell me vaccines are good, it's going to be hard pressed for me to believe you. And that's what's scary to me.
Sure. Especially if people make it part of their identity.
Especially with that. Right. Because you can't unlodge yourself from that.
Yeah. Speaking of identity, I have a close personal friend, Pamela Schuler. I met her. I did a conference in MIT, leadership conference, and I didn't know this going in. It was a disability conference where you spend, I don't know if it was a week or several days, learning how to be a better leader in the digital age. And I didn't know that it was a disability conference. I got invited. I said, I'd love to attend. I want to be a better leader online. And it ended up being a disability conference. And then everyone in the group had some share of disability, either visible or invisible. And they asked me on like the second day, Mike, what's your disability? And I said, well, look, I didn't know that this was a disability conference, which was uncomfortable to say, but I think important. But I think what is valuable in me being here is I think I can get the message out of how those with disabilities want to be treated by medical providers, how we can better improve our medical education to residents of how to interact with those with disabilities. And I think it was a learning experience for everyone in that scenario. At least I hope it was for them, because it was certainly for me. How do you feel with people who don't like the word disability, don't like the word handicap? I know you made a joke about it earlier off camera, but I'm curious, what's your sort of underlying message or overlying message on that?
I'll answer it, but I'm going to come back to you in a second. I have a love-hate word with disability or handicap.
Okay.
Because it is a descriptor. It's easy to use. It is what I am. Disability, disabled, fine, right? Like, makes things really easy. Why I specifically don't like it is because you make things accessible for disabled people. What does that mean? You've got blind, you've got deaf, you've got, I'm a quadriplegic that has different needs than a paraplegic, that has different needs than someone with spina bifida and multiple sclerosis, and on and on and on, right? Mm-hmm. So now you want to make things accessible. You want to cater for disability. I don't understand that, right? Like, because so let's make a place accessible. The first thing you think of is no steps. Easy. Mm-hmm. But then what about blind people, right? They're often forgotten. Deaf, right? You move into this building, and, well, do you have alarms that light up, right? Because deaf are not going to hear it, right? Or have less of a chance of hearing it or feeling vibration. So automatically, just by those three things, I've now shown you, three different things you need to do just to do accessibility for disabled. So it's weird to me, right? Because it's just a catch-all. But at the same time, it just means different, right? Like, and maybe not able-bodied. And I'm okay with that. You can call me whatever you want. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't care, right? I mean, shitbag, asshole, douche.
Maybe you prefer not those.
Yeah, no, I kind of, it's true, know, and I get it. So to me, words don't mean anything, right? Like the context does, mm-hmm. right? So if friends of mine drop cripple jokes, I think it's funny all day long, because I do. If somebody comes up to me though and says, "Hey, cripple," different, right? So intent and delivery and context to me are massive. So I really don't mind.
So how do you feel about people policing comedians these days?
So do you know who Lisa Lampanelli is?
Yes.
So she used to be my coach.
Okay.
So I've done stand-up at every single comedy club in Manhattan.
Wow. Okay.
When I was younger. The reason actually why I left comedy is because the only way comedians make it big is through a movie or a TV show. Really.
Right? Not Instagram? Like, or, I mean,
well, nowadays, this is 30 years ago, right? I'm old, man. So back then, that's how they made it. I wasn't about to be a martyr for that cause, because disability is still humor that no one wants to talk about. Mm. You can't become black. You can't become gay. You can't become a woman or a man. You can't become different things. You can become disabled. So it's the one thing people are reticent to joke about. Mm. Name me a mainstream movie actor that has been the lead in a movie that's in a wheelchair and not put in a wheelchair like Jean-Luc Picard was, in X-Men. I'll wait.
Yeah, I struggle to.
Now, give me one in cartoons. Joe from Family Guy or South Park. It's because that's not real. And so they get to make wheelchair jokes there. But in real life, you don't. Taboo. Can't make those jokes. Which I find silly, by the way. But you can't make those jokes. It can still happen to you. We're very scared about laughing about things that can happen to you. Mm. Right?
So the fact that we may be in that position, we're more hesitant to joke about it.
I mean, it's my assumption, right? I don't know any other reasons why.
What about those with disabilities becoming upset about certain things? I've seen disability organizations come out against certain comedians for making jokes about.
Sure, like Seinfeld when they did 2 episodes, and that was in a different time. That was 30 years ago, or almost 30 years ago. My rebuttal to that would be, yeah, but there's going to be a faction that is going to be angry at anything you say, right? So lesbian group is going to be angry at lesbian comedians, and black on black comedians, and gay on gay comedians, and all of that is going to have some retribution or some type of response.
Got it.
And, that I wouldn't want to be a comedian these days, right? That is a very hard line to walk. Personally, I think I find humor in truth. And if it's true, I am in a wheelchair. I did win the Christopher Reeve lookalike contest. Because you're not looking at my body, you're just looking at the guy in the wheelchair, right? Like I do understand that reality is reality and it's not going to change. So why not laugh at what you can't change? Here's the thing though. If you make fun of my intelligence, that I then get a little annoyed by, because that's something I can change. That's something I have bearing on. But being in a wheelchair, I don't have a choice with that. So let's mock it. You don't have a choice being brunette, right? Like so let's just mock it, right? Like who cares? And I think the fuse is way too short at this point, right? So I don't envy comedians right now. I think cancel culture, while I do believe it's gone too far to a degree, I understand why it exists. But I also need to go back to intent and context, right? That there are people that don't understand context. And if you make a joke and they misinterpret it, that's where danger starts to happen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. My friend Pam dislikes when frequently you'll see on Twitter a video go viral. A basketball team will sub in a child with Down syndrome to make a bucket. Everyone doesn't play defense. They make a bucket. Crowd cheers. She hates it.
I hate it.
I'm also speaking for her. I probably shouldn't, but
I'll speak for her. Pam, you and me, I get it. I get it, Pam.
Yeah. So tell me your thoughts on that.
I don't want to be placated, right? Like
But I'm playing solely devil's advocate here. Doesn't context matter? Aren't they doing it in a positive way to support this person?
It's a fair response. That's a fair response. I think there's a difference between cognitive and physical. From a cognitive perspective, maybe, and they're doing it for them, something that they could never do. But physical, I'm finding ways to do cool stuff physically. And I don't need you to put me on a basketball court with the Knicks just to make a shot that I know I don't belong there, right? Like, hop into a race car with me, bro. Like, then
Sure.
We'll see. I actually take back what I said. I think that's you're right about context, and I hate that you're using my words against me. Yeah, that's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, because I try and wrap my head around what's happening, and I understand that to some it may look like you're cheering as if that's all they can accomplish. You're belittling their successes or their challenges that they've had ahead of them. But at the same time, are people doing it out of goodwill because they're cheering and celebrating a person having a good time? Or are those people looking and comparing themselves and saying, oh, thank God I'm not like that, and that's why they're cheering? So I think more needs to be figured out about what's happening as a whole in the audience.
100%. I also think it goes a step further where I hate the word inspiration. Hate it. Because if you and I both land at the same spot, I'm the inspiration. Why? Because society already is putting me below you. So I have now overcome more than you did, right? Why? Like, because society says that I'm worse than you as a human? I don't want to be an inspiration. I want to be motivation, right? And there's a difference between the two, right? And so if I can be motivational to get people to go, oh, that if he can do it, then I can do it. Great. If it's sad sack inspiration stuff. So as a great example, and I'm in the ad world, wheelchair guy gets pushed by his mom in the back of a TV commercial. Disability check, right? We now have diversity. That's silly to me, right? Like just putting that in there because now you're marginalizing them as well versus what I said to Pennzoil when they called me. I was like, there's a difference between me being a race car driver that happens to be in a wheelchair versus a guy in a wheelchair that's a race car driver. Sounds very, very, very fine, a very fine difference, but it's actually a massive difference, right? Because I do want to be seen as a race car driver.
So is this going back to the conversation where we had about identity, how people sometimes make the anti-vax thing their identity? You don't want to be your disability as your identity?
Oh, I'll take the disability all the time, but it's how it's treated in the media. Because when you do wheelchair first, it becomes a sad sack story. It becomes this pity story, becomes this yay, raw story, right? When I'd rather it be badass story, right? Oh, he's in a chair, badass, right? That he can do this. Still wheelchair, still me, still race car driver. But one's coming at it from the cocked head, the awe, like I feel so bad for you perspective. Good job for being a race car driver. And the other one's coming from an empowering perspective. That's the importance to me.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of this comes from the brain trying to simplify things from limited information. And it's good that our brains do that because it would be difficult to function in the real world without simplifying basic things. So part of that, like if you said between me and you, if we achieved the same thing, people might give you more credit because they assume you went through more. But even that might not be true, right? So someone, just because they don't have a disability, could have faced tremendous invisible challenges that might be invisible to you. But now on this flip side, if people...
And that's their wheelchair.
Exactly. So they might have a different wheelchair that's not visible to the general public. So you don't want the wheelchair to be the sole wheelchair in the conversation.
I'm okay with being the sole wheelchair in the conversation as long as it's not from a context of pity, right? That's where it goes. It is the where am I starting?
Do you view the pity as a negative emotion that people have?
Massively, because it's also how people then relate to you, how people talk to you. They talk to me slower. What? What? Like, are you talking to me? Like, I'm the only one here, and you're talking. Oh, should I speak slower to you? Right? And that I'm like, why are you talking slower? I don't understand. Because every person in a wheelchair has cognitive issues as well. So I do also understand that having had an accident at 15, I didn't know the difference between a paraplegic, a quadriplegic, or hemiplegic, or a spina bifida, whatever. I didn't understand. So I can't actually expect anyone else to understand.
Right.
What I want is that people listen, and then they just, when I tell them, and accept what I'm saying is kind of normal. That's number one. Number two is, and here is where I get a little controversial, and that is, I think everybody should ask questions.
No, I don't think I think that's great advice.
I got my ass handed to me.
By who?
I'm curious. So there was somebody who was black who, when I was giving a speech at the Hammerstein Ballroom, and I said, you should ask questions. And she raised her hand. She said, I'm really sick and tired of answering questions. And the difference is, for me, it's 30 years. For her, long legacy of answering questions. And I could hear in her voice just like it's tiring. And I never, ever never took that account into consideration.
Sure.
And she's totally right. We ended up, I wish I had this response when I was on stage, but I didn't. And that is, unfortunately, you still need to stay tired. And the reason why is there's so much misinformation out there, right? The Michigan militia loves Jews. They love Jews. They just want them in a different place and maybe to die, right? But when you go to their website, go Jew, right? Like, so now if somebody's Jewish going, you need to go do your research and I don't want to answer your questions. Wow, I'm really scared of that, right? Like I'm really scared of the answers that they might get. Or I'm a quadriplegic versus a paraplegic. Are they going to start looking up para and quad and then come up with spina bifida or something else just because we look the same? So it's tiring, and it's not for everybody.
I think that so in the beginning of the conversation, I asked you, how do you hold these two thoughts in your mind at the same time? And you rightfully explained that one is a micro thought of in a single moment in time, and one is a more macro view. So I think macro view, asking questions, is good. Micro view, you're allowed to get tired of people asking questions. Like, you're just allowed to be frustrated and annoyed and tired
100%.
of people. So I think it both can exist there too.
I totally agree. I would also use the word context again.
Yeah.
Right? Where if somebody at a racetrack asks me, can I get out of my car in 14 seconds, for egress? It's context, right? Can I race with somebody else? Do I have the stamina to race with somebody else? Context. If somebody randomly comes up to me in a shopping center and goes, how fast can you get out of a car? What?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
Sure.
And those become obtrusive questions, right? I always get annoyed about being the token, right? So the guy in the room that, like, when we were talking about consumers and whatnot, they'd be like, and what do people in wheelchairs think? I'm like, I can tell you what I think.
Yeah.
Right. But pretty sure there are other people in chairs that think differently, right? Or somebody who's gay or somebody who's black. Like, what do all black people think? How is that a question you're asking me? And that's because of tokenism, right? Because we just kind of go, you speak for the population because you're all the same.
Yeah.
You're not all the same, right? But if there's context to it, there's a reason for asking, then I think things are appropriate. So I think we're both in agreement. We're finding that middle ground, right? Where it's, why are you asking? And then I'm okay with answering the question.
Yeah, especially for me as a doctor, when I walk into a room, a lot of times I don't know what to expect, especially working in an urgent care setting where you don't know your patients. You're coming in. If I don't ask the question, it's going to just be a lot more awkward if I don't ask the question, or someone will get offended because I'll do something that will be an assumption. And if you assume, you make an ass out of you and me.
And I got to tell you, the amount of assumptions that were made about me, and then things that consequently happened after that, is why I have the perspective I do.
What are some of those assumptions?
So early in my career, I had an interview with somebody more senior to me, and I nailed the interview. Nailed it. Totally me. Didn't get the job. Okay, it happens. Years later, I was out for drinks with this person, and I actually became more senior to this person at that point. And I had said to them, "Why? I'm just really curious. Why didn't you hire me?" And the person said, "Well, I didn't think you can travel as much as strategists needs to travel." And I didn't think I'd be allowed to ask that question. From a hiring standpoint, people are so scared about asking different questions, right? And can you do this? Can you not do this? That to me is like, you don't go to Alaska. I won't go to Alaska and go, I want to go chop down some trees without them going, can you walk out there? Because I don't know how you're going to get there, right? Appropriate contextual question, right? Same guy in an airport just says, can you walk? Like, not contextual question. So she did not hire me because she thought she was not allowed to ask the question. Now, she was allowed to, actually, but she made an assumption on my behalf. Now, sliding doors, things ended up being okay, right? And I'm very happy with how they ended up. But that was one of those moments I just wish somebody said, hey, we got to travel a lot. What's your scoop? Can you travel? It's that simple. So there have been many, racing is a great one. People make assumptions that I can't get out of the car fast enough for egress if something happens on track. Ask me. Just ask me and I'll show you the video, right? Like, I can get out real fast. Assumptions, I'm more scared of assumptions than I am of being tired of answering questions. Because the assumptions are way more deadly and maybe not deadly, are disproportionately affect me, their assumptions, than it does them. So ask the question.
That's a good point to remember. We didn't talk about yet the racing journey. How did that come about?
What journey?
Were you always into racing, age 15 before the accident?
No, I'd been pulled over. I've refrained from saying how many times I've been pulled over. Let me give you this example. take the amount of times you think I've been pulled over and go 4 times with that, multiply by 4.
Before the accident or
no,
after?
I was 15 when I had my accident, right?
So I don't know what the Connecticut rules are for driving.
16 years old,
okay,
right? Okay. And so, no, unfortunately, up until even last year. But I get out of all of them because I'm in a wheelchair and I pour water on my lap and say I couldn't find a handicapped bathroom. So there's that. Really hoping that doesn't make it into the cut. Just saying.
I think it should.
But yeah, it should. Every cop is going to be like, so where's the water bottle? No, I have a penchant for speed, and I actually don't know anything about cars. And I mean that legitimately, where only 2 years ago I found out what a radiator is. And most people chuckle at that. And I go, well, I never had a dad that was super interested in cars, and I never had friends that turned wrenches, right? So there was really no reason for me to understand the dynamics and the functionality of a car. Driving, I always knew I was good at, right? And I always drove fast, but I always drove clean, and I always, my brain just works that way. So when we moved full time to Sharon, Connecticut, upstate Connecticut, which is near Lime Rock, which is one of the most strategic racetracks in this country. And on our anniversary, my wife got me a track day. Which, small side note, same anniversary, same gift, I gave her motorcycle lessons. I mean, the perfectness right there, right? Of kind of like, either that is like, I hope you die. Oh, I hope you die. And I hope our life insurance is good, up to date, right? Is it? Okay, good. You can go do it. So she got me that. And I had never, if you can't see it, you can't be it, right? So I'd never seen anybody in a chair racing before. It just wasn't a thing that I knew was possible. And she got it for me and was like, go. And Don, my first instructor there, he treated me like anybody else. It was.
And at that point, you already were doing hands-only driving?
Well, so I've been using my hands to drive since day one, right? Wow, since 16 years old. And so.
What's the process of learning that like? I'm not familiar with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, they're handicapped driving schools, right? They're driving schools that have hand control cars in them. It's kind of that simple.
And how does the accelerator brake work?
Yeah, so on mine specifically, I turn for gas and I push for brake on my right hand, and then I steer with my left. But because I have no dexterity in my left hand, I have kind of two posts that go up on the side of my wrist and then one that goes up inside my finger, so I can do a full turn without ever releasing the steering wheel. So I'm racing with one arm, and I'm brake throttling with one arm.
Okay.
So,
and is that customizable to depending on the level of, let's say, your cervical spine injury? Because some people might have flexion injuries, extension injuries. You can change that around.
Let's call it anything C5, C6 or lower, is all kind of the same, right? Okay. They're for everyday cars that I also use in my race car, although I adapted mine a little bit. But they're all the same. Right. There are guys like Robbie Wickens he races and he's a pro racer who have these elaborate setups that are $30,000, $40,000, take 2 weeks to install. Mine costs $3,000 and takes 2 hours to install. So I can actually go to any race team and race with anybody, which is pretty great. So I had my Audi that are one of our street cars that I just went there and tried a track day.
Which Audi?
This one was the S6.
Great car.
It's not a horrible car. I'm an Audi, Porsche, and Volkswagen loyalist.
And Lamborghini, right?
Pardon?
And Lamborghini.
Yeah, and if they want to give me a Bentley, I'll be that too.
Well, no, but I'm saying it's in the same family.
It's in the same family. Yeah. I'll take whatever percentage off, preferably a bigger percentage. I'll take it. Yeah. But I did my first track day, and there was a precarious moment on the track. And where it should have stopped me from wanting to race. We got into the pits. I'm pretty sure Don was thinking like, well, he's just going to quit now, right? Like that was something that would wiggle most people out of the let's do this in the future. And I took off my helmet and I said, I need to buy a race car. And the reason why is it is the only sport on the planet that makes us equal to able-bodied people. If you think about it, car doesn't care that I'm in a chair. No one on track knew that I was in a chair, unless they saw me in the paddock beforehand. The freedom of that, the liberation of actually competing against everybody, not just a subsect of humanity, right? Other people in chairs. That emotion was overwhelming. And look, I'm somebody who, I say it fairly quickly, but I did 12 marathons in 12 months. I'm the only quadriplegic that's a rescue scuba diver. I skydive. I do a lot of fun stuff. This was the first time where I was like, I'm equal. Then immediately I go, screw equal. I want to be first. But that moment really meant something to me. And less than a month later, I had my first track car.
Wow. What was your first track car?
An M3 Lime Rock edition.
Okay.
Coincidental at Lime Rock, because again, I didn't know anything about cars, right?
Right.
So here I've got this Lime Rock edition showing up at Lime Rock, and people are waving at me, and I'm like, I know I'm good looking, but like this is just undue adulation that I'd never experienced before. Yeah, because you're driving an orange car. That's a Lime Rock edition at Lime Rock, right?
Wow,
There are only 200 of those, and that's how I got into it. Into racing. It was the understanding that you get to be equal to other people. Like you and I will never do a marathon in the same division. You and I will never play tennis in the same division. You and I will never play basketball in the same division. You and I will never ski in the same division. Racing, I'll destroy you. Racing doesn't matter, right? That is epic. And that's why I had to start the Just Dance Foundation and do the show, because I had to show people that we are only different from a physicality standpoint. We are not different from an accomplishment standpoint. And do I have to be creative with how I set things up? Yes. But I would also argue that every car is representative of their driver. Every car is different, right? They look the same from the outside, but every race car driver sets their car up differently. So do I. I just happen to use hand controls. That means a lot to me.
What's the attitude like from other drivers? Open, joking, hating, jealous, angry? What emotions are you feeling?
Yes.
All of it.
I have people that are pissed when I beat them. You have no idea. Like they're
more pissed than
angry.
if you weren't in a wheelchair.
Yeah. I mean,
Because everyone's pissed when someone beats them.
No. They are. I've heard things like, so I leave my paddock, my wheelchair in the paddock. I've heard from friends that were standing next to people that when I'm pulling into the paddock, they go, he better not be getting into that thing, referencing my wheelchair. I pull up next to it and I hop into the chair, and that the rage, right? But these are also people that get angry at like women drivers. Like It's so silly, it's so silly. But then, and I'd say for the most part, it is a very welcoming group. Very welcoming group. They are interested in how I drive, and they want to come up and see, and I love that, right? Because I want to go to their car and see how their stuff is set up as well, right? Yeah. No, they don't have hand controls, but they have other things that I'm really curious about. So for the most part, that being said, there was a league that would not let me participate with them because they said that I couldn't get out fast enough. And my response was, the average age of your driver is 100 years old, 300 pounds, pre-diabetic. You better see if they can get out of the car quick enough, right? And watch how quickly your participation drops. But then I had other leagues like International GT that said, well, I don't care what your hair color is, right? Like being in a wheelchair is as insignificant as the hair color, right? That they were super welcoming. I think as long as you can prove that you can drive well and that you can get out of the car so you're not endangering anyone else, like corner workers, game on, right? And so it was a very interesting experience getting into it. I will give you a fun story.
Love those.
This is the why Torsten is stupid story. I get my M3 and they said race brakes are really hard. Okay, race brakes are really hard. So I go do autocross, which is at Lime Rock, a lot of tight turns. You're learning how to balance the car. And I'm jamming on the brakes, jamming on the brakes. Great day. Come home and my right foot starts to swell. And I have no idea why.
Oh no, something got caught.
And I happen to have a GoPro that was right behind me. We looked down, my right leg slid under the brake pedal. and I'm jamming down and I broke my foot in 2 places. I can't feel it. So sweet, cool. Now, lessons learned. So the lesson learned is now we Velcro I Velcro my legs to the car.
Okay.
Now, in a 1/2-inch Velcro, so if I need to be extracted from the car because of an incident, it'll just rip. It'll rip immediately, right? Because they won't know that it's on there. But G-forces aren't that hard that it's going to rip that type of Velcro, but enough to keep my legs from not moving around. Lessons learned, sweet.
Did you feel like the brake was underperforming when you were on autocross?
No, because they said that the brakes are really hard.
So you were like, oh, well,
so I'm like, this is hard. This is hard. Harder. Right? Like, bang. Oh, it stops now.
Yeah.
It's
funny. I had a similar incident.
You broke your foot?
No. It's actually not similar at all, but it's similar in this sense.
Yeah.
I have a driver's sim, and when I first got these new pedals, it was pedals that were supposed to mimic what a GT car is like. Better. No, they're it starts with an M.
SimQ. Oh. Okay.
It's not SimQ, but not Moxie. Whatever. I forgot the name of it.
Okay.
Moza.
Yeah, sure.
Moza race pedals. So I'm jamming it. I'm like, Jesus, I'm jamming these so hard. I opened the pedal up after, because apparently you could change out the little pads to add or lessen the pressure. And I realized the pad like completely squished itself and it was on a different angle, and I was just destroying the pedals. I was pressing them. So clearly when you're learning how to do pressure, it's easy to overdo it or underdo it.
Well, I think it's an interesting fact, even with sim, like there's so much stimulus coming at you when you're racing, right? It's not just I'm on the highway and I'm looking for my next exit, right? The amount of stimulus is so complex that there are certain moments where you just decide not to prioritize, certain feelings. You weren't prioritizing that because you were looking forward. You were looking at being safe.
Yeah,
you're looking
like jam that
and just go
90% pressure.
Exactly.
Trail.
Yeah. And so now my team is like, well, is the car on fire? No. Are the wheels still on? Yes. Keep going. Right. Like, so we have to focus in different ways. So even from a sim perspective, I completely understand that for sure.
So what was the goal of filming all of this as a series? What have you hoped to achieve, and what is going to be the outcome on July 30th? July 31st? 31st, yeah.
So I had been working with Pennzoil, who I had said to them, or we had this discussion, that the majority of the stuff in the auto world is all for car nerds and machismo and whatnot. I'm like, I'm not that guy. And all racing stuff is all, especially for disabled, either somebody that was able-bodied got disabled racing and now they're comeback, or it's just they're great at racing. Let's do a documentary on them. I said, there's nobody that looks like me. And I don't just mean wheelchair. I mean like somebody that doesn't know much about cars, but is still interested, is still proactive, still has an opinion. And I'm getting into racing. Why wouldn't you follow that? Right. So we started looking for partners to do that. And that's when, we started filming that show, the show. And it was interesting because I went through from just training to time trials to my first race, and then an endurance race. And that was interesting because a week before my first race at Lime Rock, I was training and I hit a wall at over 60 miles an hour, broke my femur, 3 ribs, and punctured my lung.
Wow.
On a Yelp review, I'd give that a 1 because you can't give it a 0, but not great. Benefit of wheelchair, didn't feel breaking the worst bone in your body. So check, But that was, look, there are only 2 types of drivers, ones that have crashed and ones that will. And now I got that out of the way, but that happened right before my first race, a week before. That delayed things for a little bit. So we've done Watkins Glen, Lime Rock, Virginia International, Daytona, where I did 24-hour.
Wow.
And then the 24-hour classic, and then World Racing League finals at COTA, Circuit of the Americas, the Formula One track. And the end goal of why I went into this is the easy thing to say to you is to inspire people in chairs to, motivate.
Good catch.
The goal of the show is to, I'll start again. The easiest way to look at this is I get to motivate people in chairs to go race. But it's far greater than that because everybody's car is different and because we all have creativity in our cars. I just hope that people see me racing with arms as another thing that is creative, just a creative way at it. And I want to motivate people to go, well, I didn't think I could do X, but I can. Not even car racing, just in general, and it was an interesting experience because here we got my wife, saying what she thought, and bless her heart going through, a crash like that. But she's hyper supportive. So all in all, I think the series hopefully will get people to stop thinking of a no and more thinking of how do I do it? But secondarily, how do I fail and then keep going? Because again, I think failure is awesome.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of things I tried that didn't work and okay, onward and upward from there.
Yeah. Do you think just hands is a bit of a misnomer?
Tell me more.
Just arms? Because you said you're arm driving.
I'm driving with my hands.
But are you driving with your hands or are you using the arm muscles?
Is the hand not part of the arm? Do we have a doctor in the house? Because I need a doctor.
You said you were driving with your arms.
I can't. I mean, you can spin all you want.
I'm just asking for the name of the sake of the accuracy. Of
I have data that shows that my hand is on the throttle, brake and throttle.
Fair.
My hand is on the steering
That's
wheel.
right.
And then my hand bone is connected to my forearm bone. Forearm connected to my upper arm bone. So yeah, just hands work.
Fair.
By the way, we went through an exhaustive thing of like, is it only hands? No. Is it, like things get really handsy real quick with just hands or with the hand world. So just hands was also the easiest way of not getting into trouble.
Fair. You mentioned your wife quite a number of times throughout our conversation.
She's amazing.
Tell us about this love story.
When I went down to Florida to be a judge of an advertising competition for college students, and she was one of them. And I looked to the judge to my right and I said, I have to meet her. And weeks later, we were together and we've now been together for 18 years.
Wow.
And she is just as imperfectly perfect as I want her to be. Like no one's perfect, right? But for me, she is. And she is smart. She is funny. She doesn't take me. She doesn't just say yes to everything. She supports everything I do. But that is, I think, where we are perfect together. I support everything she does. She's a former triathlete. Like she runs 6 to 12 miles a day.
Wow.
Right. She is a partner at one of the big 4 consultancies and is killing it. She is one of the sweetest humans on the planet. And I'm emotional thinking about the person I get to spend every day with, right? Like, which is, we're very fortunate. And I legitimately could not do this without her because there have been times where, as positive I've been in this conversation, there are times when you go, I just don't know. Not I can't, but I don't know. And to have somebody that goes, okay, get over it. Like, let's figure it out. The value in that person to not give an answer, to not demand that you do something, but be there to push a little bit, and give you the confidence or give you the courage, right, to go do something. We were in the emergency room when I broke my femur after the crash, and I said, baby, I promise I won't do this anymore. And she goes, "You're so hopped up on adrenaline right now. Like, do not say that. Let's talk tomorrow." And I didn't bring it up. She brought it up the next day and she said, "I think you need to keep doing this." I'm laid up right now. Like they're hurting and you're telling me to keep doing this. And her two responses were, one, you love it and you're good at it. And two, if this had happened on the street, you'd be dead, right? Like, because race cars are built to be very safe. She's like, but you love doing it. Why would you stop doing that? I mean, I could have said, because I almost died. Like, that might have been an appropriate response, but we support each other in what we want to do. Going, look, you're hyper smart. You're going to make the right decisions. I'm going to be there to support that one. That's it. So, yeah.
Did you ever watch the movie Good Will Hunting?
One of my favorite movies.
Same. Do you remember the scene that Robin Williams talks about when he first met his wife?
And I didn't mind that I missed the home run.
Yeah.
It's 100% that.
Because I can't ask Robin Williams that, obviously because he passed, but also because he was reading lines. What did you feel in that moment that you decided, I need to meet this person? This person is something special to me.
I don't have any words to answer that, actually. I think it's just a feeling that you have. You look at someone and you go, that's the thing. And as eloquent as I'd like to think I am, with my words, thing is probably not an appropriate thing to say, but like there's just a thing there. And when you don't want to hang out with anybody because you just want to be alone, but that person's not there and that makes you sad, that says a lot, right? Like we go on vacations by ourselves, right? We support that, but then we do a lot of vacations together because she doesn't want to be at a racetrack all the time, right? So I'll go do that, and she'll do her things. I think as long as one supports and then doesn't have any expectations in response, so I could sit next to her for days and just not say anything, and I'm more happy than if I were alone. That says something to me.
So she's your biggest fan in terms of racing? Or is that you?
The arrogance if I say it's me. Damn right it's me. I'm awesome. Is she my biggest fan? She's my biggest supporter. And I think there's a difference between that. Fandom and support are a little bit different. She's there to support whatever choices I make. Even if I were to stop tomorrow, I think she would support that. I think she would go, you just wasted a lot of money, just to quit. But she would support that too, right? So a fan would go to every event. She does not.
When you first initially met to early dating, any awkward interactions while being on a wheelchair courting someone? What's that like?
It's a very, very good question. Very astute question. I love being in a chair and dating. Well, formerly dating before I was married. Okay. Yeah. I love it because I have a filter that nobody has. You start dating somebody and then 6 months later, you find out that they don't like people in wheelchairs or they don't like something, right? You're like, well, you're just a bad person, right? I have that immediately. You either like me or you don't, or you want to date me or you don't. I love that filter because I don't want to wait 6 months to find out that you don't like people, right? that you have bias against people, that there's a subsect of humanity that you don't want to be next to. No, like I love that, right? I would say 80% of the world's people, or females at least that I've encountered, are fine with it. There's an interesting theory, if you will. So there are 3 reasons why people in chairs are interesting to able-bodied folks, especially from a dating perspective. One is, especially females are more interested after personality than they are after looks. So I think anybody who goes out in a chair must have a strong personality, right? It's not that easy to just go out, or they think it's not that easy. So a lot of people in chairs stay home. So you must have a strong personality. You must have something, right? That's good. 2 is they're curious. Women are way more curious than men are, right? So there's a curiosity involved in every aspect. That's definitely going through your head right now, in all the aspects. And 3rd is we're not threatening. I can't physically do something to a woman, right? Like physically bad. I'm a very safe choice, right? Very safe choice.
Okay.
And then you get me in a sack and I become a devil. No, like it's those 3 things are just things that I've heard over time that, dating somebody in a chair has and brings to the table. But I love the fact that if they don't want anything to do with me, does it hurt one's feelings? Maybe a little bit, but as an able-bodied person, if somebody doesn't like you kind of feel bummed about that too.
Sure.
Right. And then you always make up the excuses. Oh, they don't like me because I'm wearing glasses, or because I've got a white shirt on, right? Or because whatever. Yeah. We come up with these dumb stories to justify oneself and to make oneself feel better. I've got a great screener, and I kind of like that. And that got me to finding the perfect human for me.
That's really cool. I'm happy that you have that. That's a great thought, because for me, as someone who's in the social media space, I find when you have popularity, because I grew up as a regular person in terms of not having fame. And then as the social media stuff developed, I saw how people started acting differently. And obviously it's not the same as if I had a disability, but it almost worked in the opposite way. People assumed I had superpowers, or they became interested solely because of the popularity. And I don't just mean from dating world. I just mean even from communicating with average 100%. Individuals. Mm-hmm. And it almost worked the opposite way, where it felt like people didn't like me for me. They almost liked something else. Versus on your side, you're like, well, if they like me right now, I know that they're already a better human. Versus for me, I'm like, well, do you really like me? Are you a good human, or are you just liking the fame?
Which I understand. I actually find very, there's a crazy duality for you, because I can understand that from a big screen perspective, right? You are creating a character, you're playing a character, you are that thing that we want you to be. And so I'm falling in love with that person.
Right.
But your ethos is you asking questions, right? And you're not playing a character. You're not putting that ethos on. So the irony of public notoriety without the cloak of what happens on screen must be even weirder for you.
It's weird, because then some people actually know real facts.
Yes. And not salacious facts, because you're actually saying them, right? Versus what happens on the big screen. It's like, did you hear what Right. I mean, look, the fame that I'm going to get is just crazy. Like people are going to run after me.
Well, tell me about the fame that you've experienced. I mean, you obviously have a social media presence. You are doing this series. How has it changed anything, if it's changed anything?
I'll say, if I may, I'm going to alter that question a little bit. And that is, it's not about fame. It's about being spotted. Mm-hmm. You can see my profile all a mile away, right? You know it's me at the track. Everybody knows my name because I'm the guy in the chair. Easily spotted. Somebody has probably said, hey, that guy drives with his hands, that kind of stuff. They know me. So their conversation to me is always incredibly familial. Now I'm like, hey, so I've actually changed from nice to meet you to nice to see you. Because you can say that to people that you don't know or do know, right? So it's always nice to see you. Sorry if I've met you before, but that's what you're going to get. And so it's weird, because they're also creating assumptions as to who I am, what I can do. So it's not a fame thing necessarily, but it's an assumption thing based on what they've heard. Sometimes that works in one's favor. Sometimes that works against one. It's a weird thing. Fun story. Broke my femur. I'm in the emergency room. In the OR, about to get my surgery. two things happened. One, I said, well, you're about to do the left leg. Can you do the right leg too? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to crash again. Let's just fortify it. He didn't find that amusing. But the anesthesiologist leans over and he goes, I know you. Excuse me? He goes, you drive an E92 Lime Rock edition at Lime Rock, don't you? And I'm like, this is weird. Yes, I do. And he goes, I follow you on Instagram. I'm like, so if you kill me, you have to leave a comment on my Instagram and be like, sorry you died, bro. We did all we could, you know? Like, but that was a weird moment of somebody going, I know you. I'm like, you're about to do weird stuff to me under the knife. Like, weird moment, but kind of cool at the same time.
Yeah. It shows how small the world can be sometimes.
So small, right? So small.
You talked about assumptions just now. What's the worst misconception that people can have of seeing someone driving a race car while in a wheelchair?
You know, that's a great question because no one ever puts a fine point on why they don't want to be on track with me. The one thing is egress, right? So I get that I can do that. Fine, I've proven it. But nobody has ever said, here's why I don't want to do it. Which is silly, right? Because it's like, well, I don't want to race with women. Why? They could do the exact same thing. And by the way, women are fundamentally better drivers than men because they actually accept lessons and they want to learn. Where men are like, me strong, me go fast, right? Like, and they don't want to learn. But there's never a justification as to why you don't want a woman to drive or why you don't want someone who's disabled to drive. The egress is probably the biggest issue. Other than that, I don't know the answer to that, which is actually sad, right? Because there are those preconceived notions that he just can't. Why can't he? Because he can't. Why can't he? Because he can't. That's a circle that doesn't make sense to me, right? Mm-hmm. Again, what I'm hoping the show will show that you want me to do an endurance race at COTA in a GT4 Club Sport MR that has manual brakes to it? Yeah, I will. In my head, I'm going, there's no way I'm doing this. There's no way. But there are cameras on me, so I better go do this. It's a very fair question. I don't know what
about outside of the racing world? Day to day.
Tell me more.
What misconceptions do you think people have of you?
That I can't do so. I'm not smart enough. That I can't get to different places. That my life is so complicated that I can't do what they're expecting me to do. Mm-hmm. But there's something even bigger to that, though, and that is that I think they're just scared of saying the wrong thing to me. Mm-hmm. There's a really weird decorum that happens around me where people will go, "Why don't we go walk over?" I mean, mosey over there. I'm like, when's the last time you moseyed, right? Like, you know, or are we in Boardwalk Empire? Like, let's go take a stroll. Like, I don't change my colloquial terms, right? I will still say to you, let's go walk over there, right? Let's take a walk. I'm physically not walking, but my colloquials don't change. My colloquial terms don't change. But if you were to say to anybody else, let's go walk over there, you wouldn't challenge the word walk, which means to me that when you're talking to me, there's always something in your mind about worrying about offending me or not offending me, right? Imagine bringing that into the work world, that people are nervous that it may say something wrong, or what if he can't do X? We can't ask him, shouldn't ask him. So I think it's just a fear of not knowing.
Should people not have that fear? What should it be replaced with?
I will ask anybody any question if the job needs to get done. Can you do this? You're my doctor, or if you're my doctor. So I broke my arm. Do you know how to do surgery to put together my arm? Yes or no? If the answer is no, then we are good. I'm moving on, right? Fair question. I want to know if somebody can do something, just like they should know, can I travel? Can I do the job? Even smarts wise, am I smart enough to do the job? Be damned if you're going to get me to do anything mathematical, right? Or anything clinical. Hell no. Does it have anything to do with my disability? Zero. But you need to ask that.
Yeah. So not being afraid to ask certain questions. What about the fear of saying something like, oh, let's walk over there. Oh my God, I said walk. I hope I'm not offending. Should that fear be there? And how should one act in lieu of that fear?
Okay. I love this question because to me, it's about the reaction. So to me, if somebody says something that I think is on the bubble of discriminatory or on the bubble of wrong, I will actually say, what did you mean by that? I need to give you the moment to answer that because you might not even know that you said something wrong, right? So I used to say hun a lot, honey, hey hun, until I had somebody turn around and be like, how dare you call me honey? Whoa, sorry. In the South, that's just a word that's being used. Now, I'm not from the South, but that's a term of endearment, right? I didn't know. Now, had she turned around and said, what did you mean by that? I would have been like, well, the same thing. What up, what up, bro?
Yeah.
What up, dude? I didn't mean anything by it, right? And so I understand that words are incredibly loaded, and sometimes you need to give somebody the permission to explain what they're talking about. You can tell very quickly, though, if somebody is being derogatory. Because if they say it in a malicious way, you can tell that their response is going to be in a malicious way, or they're not going to be able to dodge the response, right? So all day long, if somebody messes up in front of me, I will actually normally joke about it because I also want to deflate the room. The room is so heavy at that moment, right? And just let's make a joke about that and let's address it and go, by the way, pretty sure you didn't mean it that way. Don't worry about it. All good, right? That's my responsibility, I believe, or I take on that responsibility because I don't want the other person to feel bad for the rest of the conversation or our relationship.
Right.
And by the way, we all get to mess up.
Yep.
We all get to say stupid stuff, right? Like at what point also is what word okay? We started the conversation with terminology, right? Idiot is mental retardation. We call people idiots now, but that used to be like the N-word or cripple, right? That was a very bad word. Cripple, really bad. Retard, you're not allowed to say retard. But the clinical definition is mental retardation. That's confusing, right? So we do put people on their heels a little bit from a terminology perspective. But again, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt that they weren't referring to me in a negative and a derogatory context, but we're using words that they felt were right at that moment. And now it's my turn to say maybe a little different.
That's fair. You talked to us about the series. Tell us about the foundation.
So 3 months after the first time on track is when I started Just Hands Foundation. That's how pivotal and how life-changing it was for me. That 3 months in, I went back to my wife and I said, we need to buy another race car. And she's like, over my dead body, we're buying another race car. I'm like, what's the loophole? Actually, I said to her then, oh, this car is not going to be for me to drive. She's like, even more so, no. Like, what? I'm like, but I've been so fortunate where other people have supported me in marathons or in sailing or in any other sports that I've skiing, any other sports that I've done. I'm in a incredibly fortunate position that I get to help other people now. So I had to start Just Hands Foundation so people get to experience what I get to experience because the disability tax is real. And here's what the disability tax is. You want to go do a marathon, you buy $80 running shoes, you walk out your front door, you're doing a marathon for $80. You want to go play basketball, you buy a basketball, you go to a public court, you start shooting hoops. We buy a $2,000 marathon chair. We buy a $4,000 basketball chair, right? So the barrier of entry for somebody in a chair is really high. Now do that inside motorsports, and we do both mountain biking and we just started mountain biking and car sports, motorsports. The expense there is astronomical, but I had to start that in order to get people in. And here's how I can define success: 60 drivers last year, 20 of them bought their own track car. Wow. When's the last time you did something once and you were like, I'm going to pay 10, 20, 50, 100 grand to do it again?
Yeah.
I'll wait. Right? Never, that just shows how amazing it is. And if I may, I'll tell you another story. And that is the second driver that was there that we ever had. His wife was there with his 9-year-old son and 4-year-old daughter. And she approached me with her tears in her eyes. And she said that sons see their fathers as heroes. When my husband landed in a wheelchair, it was blatantly obvious that he lost his hero. He started treating my husband differently, in disrespect, like just differently. Now my son is running after my husband saying, I want to be like daddy. I want to be a race car driver. You brought back hero to my husband. And I was like, I'm not crying. You're crying. Like that was a moment where here I thought like, well, I just make people go fast. And I've heard multiple stories like that of families coming and going, I can't even do that. Right? I'm able-bodied. I can't even do that. That's just so worthwhile.
Sure.
It's just so amazing to be able to do that. Now, I don't have any kids that I know of, and I would never expect that would have been one of the outcomes. It's amazing, right? It's absolutely amazing. So we partnered with Lime Rock, and so they're a huge supporter of ours. They let us use the track. They let us keep the car there. We started with a Porsche Cayman, and because of Volkswagen, we're now adding a Volkswagen GTI, which we are unveiling at the premiere of the show on July 31st in Connecticut. We're so fortunate to be able to offer this. And then we also started mountain biking because it's got an engine on it or an assisted motor. We're just growing it, and it's incredible how it's growing. To have the support of Pennzoil, to have the support of Volkswagen, to have support of Mobility Innovations that helps me with hand controls. The people that come out that just want to help is humbling, is the only word I can give for that. Without them, we're nothing. And so that's why I'm excited for the show to come out, because hopefully it'll give visibility to the charity, to the foundation, which is going to be pretty great.
How can people support, either by volunteering or financially?
Yeah, we can always use people from a volunteer perspective. The biggest thing is financial, right? Our financial gap, it's almost $1,000 a day to run the program. That's not an inconsequential amount of money. And we only accept $50 from the driver. We are, again, to have the support of Pennzoil and Volkswagen is nothing short. And I'm leaving just so many people out. All the people that are running through my head right now, that I want to thank is unfortunate because we don't have the time, right? And we wouldn't be doing what we're doing without them.
So where do people make a financial contribution?
So justhands.org, there's a donate button, or reach out to us if you want to get around the paying for the fee of whatever, PayPal and Venmo and all that stuff is. But that's how they donate to our foundation.
Awesome. And where can people follow along for the journey?
On Instagram, I'm at Torsten F. Gross. And on YouTube, we are at Just Hands.
Amazing. So people follow along. And today I'd love to make a $10,000 donation to the Just Hands Foundation to keep supporting the mission. And I'd love to join you at Lime Rock, bring one of my cars and race along with you. I think that would be so fun.
Can't move on from that quickly. That's thank you.
Of course. No, thank you for...
thank you.
Because I think it often, heroes that are confident, and I know you said you're not machismo, I feel like you are, and I feel like you're a confident gentleman that deserves the praise of starting a foundation that is helping so many people, and in ways that you probably don't even see. And I know that as someone who is on social media, and I see how content can impact lives across the world. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal, and I hope people learn from that.
I appreciate that, and thank you. And I look forward to destroying you on track. I'm not going to take it easy. You're going to feel so bad about yourself.
I'm also preparing to become a race car driver, not professionally, but in the Ferrari Challenge race series.
Oh, you're one of those douches. Cool.
I am.
So tell me more, because you guys, you better have multiple cars behind you, because you go into each other all the time. One of my instructors is a Ferrari Challenge coach, because I'm doing Porsche Sprint Challenge next year.
Okay.
Tell me more, with your own car or with somebody else's car?
So for the first year, you have to do Corso Pilota, which is like their school. They have multiple levels.
Yep.
I'm finishing the last one in Laguna Seca in September. Mm-hmm. at which point I have to make the decision, do I buy my own challenge car to race in the challenge series next year? And I think I will. And I don't have a lot of track experience. So far, I raced COTA with my dad. I took him for Father's Day with the Audi school, actually. That was really fun. I went to Sonoma with Ferrari Sport. I did thermal with Ferrari Evo. Sure. And then actually this weekend, I have Ferrari Sport again with one of my colleagues, Luis Espina, who is a doctor on this channel as well, in Mont Tremblant in Canada.
Love that track.
Never been there before, so very excited for that. And then obviously Laguna Seca to finish off the year. So I'm excited to do Lime Rock though.
We've got to. So what kind of cars do you have?
I have a Pista, a 458 Special, a Roma, a 360 Modena, a Revelto, Lamborghini.
Okay.
And 296.
So none of those numbers mean anything to me because I don't know anything about cars. Let me ask the question again.
They're all Ferraris or one Lamborghini.
Okay. So they're all Ferraris.
Yeah.
Got it.
I'm a fanboy.
Obviously, if not you,
douche fanboy.
Yeah, douche fanboy, or else you're doing really weird shit with your purchase behavior. So bring one of those up to a Lime Rock Drivers Club day. I went from just doing HPDE's, high performance driver education, to becoming a member of Lime Rock Drivers Club, and I'm now an instructor there. And it will fundamentally change your drive style when you are not doing the classes that you're doing. We have 5 hours of open track time. Wow. With pro instructors that what's really nice that maybe they're doing this in the schools that you're doing, but you can literally go out for 2 laps, come in, change the pound pressure like in the back by 1 pound, go back out, try that, right? And then keep playing with that, because the problem is the track changes over an hour, right? So if you started to do the tires a little differently, you're not doing a 1-to-1 on what the change actually can do. It's mind-blowing. That's really cool. It's incredible.
On a practical note, my insurance, car insurance, doesn't cover if I take my cars to track.
Opentrack.com.
Is there like a separate insurance you can get?
There is. HPD insurance.
Oh, okay.
I have a really good guy that does it. Okay. And Steve Katz, also big supporter of Just Dance, by the way. So, you would be supporting somebody that supports us as well.
Awesome.
And he's a race car driver. Cool. Really good one. But yeah, you can either sponsor a day, or you can either pay for a day or for a year. They do not cover races though. So racing is outside of
a registration fee is separate.
No, I mean literally just the insurance. So on an HPD day, high performance driver education day, they will insure your car. If you do a race, they will not. And here's an awesome way I can tell you about lessons learned, is the day that I had my crash, the next weekend I was going to have a race, so not insurable. Then I would have had 2 weeks off, and then on the third week I would have HPD'd again. So I was like, why get insurance for one track day when I can't get, when I'd have to wait a month, and I'm just going to ruin a year's worth or month of insurance. Mm-hmm. So let's get it in 3 weeks. Yeah, went into a wall on that one. Ended up having to rebuild a Porsche. Note to self: don't try and pay the insurance. So yeah, that's how you find out that your wife is really gracious, when you put a Porsche into a wall, and what her response is. Fair. But yeah, definitely come up. It's so much fun up there, and all really good humans up there as well.
Yeah. Okay, so cool. You'll see me soon.
I love it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
And thank you again. Yeah. I appreciate it too.
Of course. Sophie Grace Holmes ran 36 marathons in 36 days despite living with cystic fibrosis. Click here to see that incredible interview with her. And as always, stay happy and healthy.
I do think that the generations nowadays are completely soft.
Oh.
Yeah.
Why?
I just think that there's this attitude of, I don't want to overtrain. We got to deload. I'm not a fan of all that.
That's Carly Lloyd, one of the greatest soccer players of all time. Here's a quick resume. She's a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, 2-time FIFA World Cup champion, 2-time FIFA Player of the Year, and now a 1-time guest on the Checkup with Dr. Mike. And this ain't no softball interview. I opened up with the tough questions. All right, well, we have to settle this right at the outset. Is it soccer or football?
I think football sounds cooler, but when you say football in America, people get confused.
So what is it for you? What is it in your heart? When your heart says it, what does your heart say?
Football. But I think when I go overseas, I usually use football.
Okay.
But then when I'm here, I gotta say soccer.
Carly has been playing the beautiful game her entire life. And while she has ascended to the top of her sport several times, her journey actually started right across the river in New Jersey.
I started playing at the age of 5. I grew up in a very small town, Delran, New Jersey. Everybody knew everything about everybody. It was a blue collar mentality. People there, workers. My parents, they didn't have a lot of money, so it wasn't like, they were giving me a goal in the back of my backyard. I had to scrounge up balls that I could find. I would have one pair of cleats that I would have to kind of savor for the whole year. But I absolutely love the sport. And I think, there's a kind of a constant theme with successful people. First is you love it. You're passionate about it, whatever you're doing. And then the second thing is you just outwork everybody. You do all the things that not many people want to do, the hard things.
Yeah.
And it's been wild. 34 years I played the beautiful game, 17 professional years. But it was a really, really hard and difficult journey. And I think that's what allowed me to reach the heights that I reached, because I kept just wanting to kind of stick it to people, to prove people wrong.
With so many highs in Carly's career, I wanted to know which stood out above the rest. No surprise, her first Olympics in 2008 comes to mind, when she and the US team defeated Brazil to take home the gold medal.
An amazing moment in 2008 Olympics, having won my first Olympic gold, scored the game-winning goal in the final. And so I was kind of riding this high of like, oh, look at me, Before you know it, you're slapped down, on your face, and the reality is success doesn't always last as long as you'd like it to last. So I had to do some soul searching again. I started to change my diet, started to push on, and then 2012 Olympics was another big change of a moment for me. I had been benched right before. And again, we talk about this kind of proving people wrong. I wanted to prove to my coach that she made the wrong decision. And so I got my opportunity in the first game, 16 minutes in. One of my teammates goes down injured, and then I went on and never left the field after that. And we won the Olympic gold for the second time there. Yeah. So I think there wasn't just like one moment throughout my career. There were all these little milestones that either had me come tumbling down the mountain really fast and I had to pick myself up and go back again, or there was some success, which then gave me more confidence to want more. So it was a crazy journey.
Through these tribulations of yours, like when you're on the peak of winning a gold medal and you're excited and you were responsible for that win because of your goal, then the drop off. You say you pick yourself back up, you look at what you're doing wrong and you try to improve. What, practically speaking, are you doing in those moments? Are you looking at what your physical peak shape is? Are you looking at your relationship with your teammates? What are the things that you're changing, especially when you're performing at such a high level?
I think my mindset was always, there's always more I can do. And so I'm not always looking at the things that I'm doing good at. I'm always looking at the things that I'm not so good at and I need to improve upon. And I think most people in the world want to just be comfortable. They want to do things that make them feel good and that they're good at something. But I'm actually the opposite.
Okay.
I don't feel I'm good or improving or growing as a person unless I'm uncomfortable and I'm doing things that are not in my comfort zone. So I would always kind of reflect after a major tournament or reflect after an injury or a setback or an obstacle. And I would figure out ways of how I can come back stronger. And, maybe that's my character, maybe I needed to be a better teammate or do things differently. Maybe my leadership qualities I could be better at. Maybe it's a technical thing on the field or a tactical aspect of the game. Just always finding ways to keep improving. And I was doing that till the very end, till the last moment. I decided to hang up my boots and call it a fair go and head into retirement. But it's constant. And now even in this phase, life after soccer, it's the same sort of thing. What can I do to keep putting myself out there, out of my comfort zone?
Carly hasn't exactly struggled to find ways to push herself in retirement. She just competed in the reality competition show Special Forces on Fox, where she and other celebrities were put through drills that are performed by the United States Special Forces. It not only put her in her darkest moment, but it also brought up traumatic memories of her near-death experience.
An email came through from a casting director to my agent, and you kind of look at some of those things as there's a bit of a long email, like weird, like, oh, we're, doing this show that's, going to come out in the US, and didn't give much information. I'm like, oh, okay, this looks cool. So chat with my agent, like, are they going to have hair and makeup? Are they going to have a masseuse? Like, do I get a +1? Yeah, none of that mattered whatsoever. So as we started to kind of get the contract together, and I still was trying to kind of find out what exactly does this entail? Like, I don't want to be jumping out of helicopters. That was like my exact words. And so
little did you know.
Yeah. Once I signed my life away, we then get a little sneak peek at the UK version of the show that was shot in Jordan as well before our show. And I watched that clip, and I was just like, oh my gosh. So I wasn't second guessing it, but I was pretty nervous about the show.
But that's good, because you said you love being uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I think, people have seen me on this show in more of a real raw emotional state. I talk about my career. I didn't really let anybody see the emotions, whether I was nervous or sad or frustrated. I kind of just always kept that in, and only my close friends and family would see those emotions that I would share with them. So with the Special Forces, I held it together, but I was really, really nervous inside every single day. I mean, every day I thought I was going to die, but I was like, wait, they can't let us die. I hope not.
Was that your coping mechanism? You're like, no, for TV, they won't let us die.
I was like, there's no way we could die.
What was the hardest challenge for you, mentally or physically?
I would say probably the car submerging. I don't know what triggered me to really panic, because I was actually on the swim team at home, my swim club, till I was 18. So I don't have a thing with water, but I think it triggered a moment in my life when I totaled my car. So I was driving down to the beach on the parkway, hit some black ice, did exactly what you don't want to do, braked, jerked the wheel, and then I veered off onto the side of the road into some tidal water, and my car started to fill up, and I had to exit from the roof.
Wow.
So I guess that maybe triggered something, but that was really difficult. Everything was, I actually kind of liked being lit on fire. That was fun. It's like one of the easier tasks.
Yeah.
I mean, it was harder to get all that, the suit and the goop on that we had. But I would say the last bit, the interrogation, was, I went to a deep, dark place to get through that.
And while heroic achievements on the pitch have fueled Carly's confidence, they haven't exactly fueled her joy. As someone who works as hard as Carly to achieve greatness, taking your foot off the gas and celebrating those wins has been quite difficult for her.
I think it was really difficult to celebrate the achievements, to fully really soak it in, because I was so afraid of soaking it in to the point where I would become complacent.
And your guard would drop.
And the minute you become complacent, it's a scary, scary moment. So I didn't fully allow myself to enjoy it. I mean, maybe I look back and say, how could I have not fully enjoyed it? I don't think you can have the best of both worlds. I don't
believe that balance is...
If you want to be at the top of the 1%ers, I don't think so.
Hold on a second. Carly, are you saying you have to be sad to be the best?
Have to be sad?
Yeah, because that's what you're saying.
I think
you're like, you can't be happy.
I think it's a lonely... it's a lonely situation to be in. Look at Tiger Woods, for example. don't think he could have had, you know, a balance per se, or times where he just sat back and enjoyed his, you know, however X amount of master wins that he had. No, he was hungrier for more and more and more and more. And so I don't think it was until the end of my career where I started to really kind of take things in more, enjoy the moment more, because when you're in it, those wheels are just turning. Sure. They're turning and burning. And it just makes it, I guess it's part of the sacrifice. Everybody sacrifices something to be at the top.
Yeah, that's very true. And I don't think sacrifice needs to be sort of not thought of, but to some degree, thinking from a psychological standpoint, there's got to be benefit to leaving that space of constant self-improvement and self-criticism and going into the, at least for a few days or some time period of, I'm going to fully celebrate this moment and be in the present and not stop the improvement. The next day I'll be thinking about improvement, but really having that period to reflect upon your success. Because the reason I ask you this is, as a doctor, even in the field that we practice it, we're constantly thinking about the next test when we're training, or when we're with a patient, we're thinking about the next patient. Is there something that we can learn from you of how can we exist in the present, celebrate those wins, and then continue to improve and be very critical of ourselves and be that demanding sports champion? Is there a world where both can coexist? And you say no, it seems.
I think for a very, very short moment. I don't think that, you know, for me to, you know, completely shut off for 2 weeks and I'm going to go tour around with this trophy that I just won. And I was always looking at it. Oh, I know no one else is doing it, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to train more and clock in more hours because I know that no one else is doing it. So that was that competitive edge and that confidence that I had, knowing that I was doing more than everybody else. But as I do look back, I do wish that I took maybe a bit more time to let some things soak in. And I think that I did for some of the big moments. I think when you win big moments and you're kind of the star in that moment, you get pulled in a lot of different directions. You've got media, you've got all these different things. And then what comes of it afterwards, it's really hard because you're in that turning and burning. Yeah. Not only do you have to start training and doing all that to start the next cycle back up again, but you have all these other obligations. Sure. And so after the 2015 World Cup, when I scored a hat trick, my whole life just changed completely.
Carly isn't exaggerating. Her life did change. In the 2015 World Cup final against Japan, Carly scored not one, not two, but put her into a household name and a hero to millions. You might think after such a feat, she'd want to enjoy a vacation, but taking a vacation as a competitor isn't always easy. Something in psychology that we always talk about is the fear of taking a vacation. So often people say, I'll be less productive. I will lose that week that I could be using to get ahead. But when we actually look at the data and we see how productive you can become from taking time off, that there's actually a huge benefit to leaving that space where your mind clears out, you become more focused, you re-energize in ways that we can't even fully understand and fathom. So I think that it would have been cool to see that happen in your world and just seeing how, like if we could run a simulation, how that would impact everything.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. And I think the older that I got, I realized that my breaks, the soccer season is long. We usually start up the end after the new year and go all the way until middle of November. So you really have 6 weeks off, and it's not really off because you usually take 2 weeks off and then you've got to gear back up again. So as I got older, I did really take those breaks, completely shut down, let my mind, my body rest.
Okay.
And I also was injured, throughout my career, nothing too serious, but I broke a lot of bones. And so that sidelined me and gave me kind of the rest and the rejuvenation. But I 100% agree. And I think now the balance that I have in life of kind of being more in the present moment, I definitely have a way better grasp on that.
Sure. Mental struggles are serious and deserve a lot of respect. But being a professional athlete, I knew Carly must have had some physical struggles as well. You talked about having multiple broken bones, physical injuries. What was the most painful one that you sustained?
Well, I could go through all of them. I've broken so many bones, but I'll break bones over getting surgeries. So
Really?
I broke my
Okay.
nose, I think twice. I broke my collarbone, my shoulder, my ankle, my wrist.
Oh, okay.
I had my one and only surgery, which was a scope in 2020, which again, I think all kind of played a role of this whole journey leading to where it led, you know, with my family and all that. And yeah, that's about it. I would say I sprained my MCL too as well. I would have to probably say the ankle was tough. You're just immobile.
So like
casted.
inverted ankle injury?
Yeah, I think I fractured the tib fib down by the ankle bone. And yeah, it was...
Non-weight bearing for a period of time. Were you on the little scooter?
You know what? I did not get the scooter.
You didn't get this. That's
was
the most fun part.
I'm like, was the
There's
scooter
no fun
not
part.
around in 2010 when I broke my ankle? I was on crutches.
You must have been just so strong that they were like, just give crutches.
I know. Disappointed.
But you know what's tough with crutches? I see a lot of people make this mistake is they put it fully into their armpits. And then they actually develop a nerve injury in their arms from misusing the crutches. Because you're supposed to have a space there. You're not actually supposed to put your whole body
Makes
weight
sense,
on the
yeah.
crutches. You're supposed to use your arms. Did you ever have any complications with that?
I didn't. No.
So you crushed the crutches.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I almost tried to get up the stairs at one point without crutches, hobbling. That was probably not a good situation.
That's dangerous. How would you say your health is in general? Do you feel like you have a good relationship with like a primary care doctor?
Well, you know, one of the benefits of playing on the national team or like playing with any sports team is you kind of have everyone at the tip of your finger.
Sure.
You need a doctor? Yep, we've got a doctor. You need a massage therapist? We got that. We got trainers. We got this. So I don't necessarily have a primary care doctor. I need to hunt one down.
Yeah, that's important.
But yeah, I mean, I think overall I'm healthy. I am very in tune with my body. I treated my body as if it was a temple when I was playing, and
well, to some degree, you're also jumping on stairs with a broken ankle.
yeah, I was risking some things, but yeah, I just wanted to get up there quicker.
Sure. When I have a boxing match on the horizon, I know how hard I'm working out to get ready. Carly has her exercise motor running non-stop since she was a kid. Now that she's retired, I wanted to know if she's still maintaining her incredible level of exercise.
It's different.
Yeah, right?
I didn't think it would be different because I've had, you know, some of my former teammates towards the tail end of my career. They know how psychotic I was with training.
Okay.
They're like, you're going to be like still doing the same training. I'm like, I don't know about the same training. But I thought I was telling them, you know, yeah, I'm going to be running. I'm going to be doing some things. But it's actually it's a little difficult getting yourself up in the morning. If it's freezing cold outside, normally it's like, I got to just do it. Now I'm kind of like, it's a little cold.
Yeah.
I put it off. Then I'm doing something else during the day and then I don't get to it. And then it is what it is. So it definitely has a different feel to it. But I always feel after I finish it so much better. And it's almost like my therapy where I can just kind of tune out the world, 30, 40 minutes, just go for a jog, collect my thoughts and do that. But yeah,
What strategy do you use for that self-talk that you just described? Maybe we can learn something from a world champion.
Self-talk. I would say, you know, now that I'm kind of in this normal world, like everybody else, not
You're
training, not training for anything per se. I think that it's hard. I mean, it's hard to get motivated to do certain things.
Exactly.
I get it. And, you know, I think when you kind of just have little goals set, I think, you know, for example, let's say someone wants to lose 20 pounds. I think what people forget is that it's a journey. You're not going to work out for a week and lose 20 pounds. I mean, maybe if you starved yourself, you could potentially.
Yeah.
But
not a valuable thing to have happen.
Not healthy.
Yeah.
But I think it's just about those small incremental steps every day. So if you wake up and you do 15 minutes of some sort of active, whether it's a walk, whether it's a bike, a run, just knowing that if you do those little things day by day, eventually you'll get somewhere. And I think you just have to be consistent with the process.
Yeah.
there's too many people that are just inconsistent with the process, but then always want the result. Like it doesn't work like that.
Well, that's why like I take issue, and when I say take issue, I say that very lightly. The big sporting companies like Nike is a prime example of this. They'll have the shirts that say "Run until you can't," "Give it your all," like until you're on the ground or whatever. Like these inspo sayings. When in reality, it's what you're saying. It's the consistency that matters. It's about the lifestyle change that you're trying to do. That 2 steps forward with 1 step back is just as good as taking 1 step forward. But they'll never put that on a t-shirt.
No. And yeah, I mean, I would kill myself. You know, I would do things in my workout during my career where my legs were wobbly. And, you know, if you do that just with the average person, they're not going to want to come back the next day.
Well, because you were doing it also with the thought in mind that this was a limited time that you're doing this.
Yes. And I was training for a World Cup or an Olympics and knowing that that's the goal in mind.
There's an end stop. Versus when you're making a lifestyle change, this is for your entirety of your life. I'm sure if someone told you the way you're training right now is the way you're going to be training when you're 70, you'd probably be like, oh man, that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So
I would say two words that stick out to me, and I feel like I'm somewhat doing this now and I have balance. Balance for me is huge. I think everybody needs that balance in life with, you know, your kids, your spouse, your work, your activities, all that. And then just consistency.
With life after soccer being wide open for Carly, I asked her what she considers an ideal balance on her life these days.
If it were up to me, I would try to do everything that comes my way. You know, hey, come do this media event or this appearance or this interview. Whereas now I've really just tried to be selective. If it's something that I really want to do, I'll do it. If it's not, then I'll just pass on it. And so I think having that balance of that work-life balance has been really beneficial for me and healthier too, because I also want to enjoy life. Like I said, throughout my career, it was tunnel vision. It was hardcore motivation. And now I actually feel like I'm able to live life and do different things, go golfing, take some trips, do some appearances, spend time with family, friends, all of that. So I just feel good about the balance that I have in life, which I think is hard for some people.
For sure. Especially when you're in that moment with the blinders on. So now let's do a fun scenario. I'm a 13-year-old aspiring soccer phenom. Do you give the balance speech or do you give the blinder speech to me?
I think at that age, it's still somewhat about having fun. I don't think that the blinders would be good. I think the balance would be good. I think I don't really feel robbed of my childhood because I still feel like I got to do things. But I think when the pressure is on a child to, you know, run around after school, go here for this training, go here for this sport, and it's exhausting to go to school, number one, and then tacking on all these other activities where there's no balance is going to completely burn them out.
Okay.
So
13-year-old balance. At what age do you turn on the blinders, if any?
I mean, I feel like the blinders are, I think it depends who you are. I mean, if it's a 13-year-old phenom that's about to go overseas and play, that's a different story than someone that maybe would play in college or if it's a 13-year-old who's going to be the next star golfer, that's different, but I think that it's got to be the passion and the will inside the child first and foremost, because I didn't care about missing things with my friends when I was younger. So someone may say, wow, like all she did was soccer when she was younger. Yeah, it was. I did soccer and I played other sports, you wanted. But I loved it.
Yeah, you got what you wanted.
So it was not blinders and it was not pressure from my parents or anybody else. It was purely because I loved doing it. So I think that it's just everybody's path is different. and there's no set path of where anyone is going to end up. So I think if you love it, then just do it as much as you want.
Sure. Carly doesn't just have a nose for the ball, but also an eye for business. And one of her biggest targets is the business side of the youth soccer world today.
It's become very selfish. It's not about the kids. It's more about these leagues making as much money as they can, and these coaches, patting themselves on the back, acting like they've just reinvented the wheel on how to play soccer. So we need to be focusing on what's the best avenue to develop these kids and keep them engaged and keep them excited to play and get them better. And so it's the opposite. And so we see a lot of participation for girls and boys in soccer. And then as they get older, it fizzles out and it dies down. And then, once you get to the top, it's about being able to produce players and all of that. But I think the focus is just, the focus at a young age shouldn't really be about winning. At 6, 7, 8, I can't tell you how many games I won at that age because it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It just matters to go out there, to run around, to play, enjoy it, get better. And then as they get older, yes, then winning becomes a point. But I don't think we're preparing these kids to be the best human beings possible. We're preparing kids to be burnt out and, parents to get disappointed because they're not the next best thing. Their kid's not the next best thing. So I don't know if the model will ever fix, or who knows?
I agree. For 99% of kids, youth sports, whether it be soccer or little league or anything else, should just be about fun and providing children the opportunity to socialize and explore new activities. But that doesn't mean sports should just be cake and rainbows, or at least Carly doesn't think so.
I do think that the generations nowadays are completely soft.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Why?
I just think that there's this attitude of, I don't want to overtrain. We got to deload, load management. I'm not a fan of all that.
Okay. Do you feel like it makes them worse players long term?
I just think that in order to be great at something, you have to clock in hours and train. You saw Michael Jordan take hundreds of thousands of shots. You saw Kobe Bryant wake up at 5 a.m. while his teammates on the Olympic team were rolling into the hotel after being out all night. And once they saw him getting up at 5 a.m. in the gym, then they started to do it. And soon then the whole team started to do it, and then they won a gold medal. So there's just a mentality now that is fragile, it's soft. I think that sports science has developed and has kind of done a little disservice to sports, in my opinion. I think that research is good. I think, cases are good that you can look at. But at the end of the day, the way that I trained and the way that I approached my training, it didn't come from a book. I just went out there and I ran. And I woke up each morning. I didn't have an app that told me, and I looked at my watch that told me, oh, you're tired today, you don't need to train. No, I got out of bed, I walked around, and I felt my body, and I said, you know what? Okay, that's a soreness that I can get through another workout today, or that's an achiness where I think I need to just back off a little bit. So we've completely taken the intuitiveness of one's self-feeling with their own body and made them reliant on these sports scientists, these medical people, the apps, the watches, the everything. So no one has any critical thinking to say, oh yeah, I need to, like, if I was in a major tournaments, World Cup, I would do extra running there because I could tell the way that I was going through training or games. And I would say, I got to do an extra sprint workout today. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was just something to trigger my body to be ready to go again in that next game or whatnot.
Because you knew yourself.
Yeah. And I don't think that there's many people that know their body because they're so reliant on someone else to tell them.
So from a medical standpoint, I'll agree with you to a degree, because I think the pendulum is now, like it does with a lot of social, cultural issues, has swung too far probably the other way. Whereas before it was that mentality of let's weed everybody out. And then it was like disruptive and abusive even at times. And now it's swung to the other way of like a comfort scenario and over-reliance on lab values, trackers, because you and I sort of share in the same mindset. I don't think there's a lot of value in, forget professional athletes, even like regular people wearing a lot of these fitness trackers. The idea of 10,000 steps a day is not mandatory by any means in order to have a healthy lifestyle. The fact that people wear these rings that tell them how well they slept, as opposed to just asking themselves, how do I feel today? Or, oh, you slept 5 hours? I know you're going to feel shitty. Like, there's a lot of intuitiveness that is gone from the generations because they're relying on those technologies. And because of that, you lose the idea of knowing the differences between the type of pain, which is so important for a professional athlete. Like, when are you sore versus this being a real injury? And then being able to work through pain, because pain has this kind of vicious cycle to it where you feel pain, then you expect the pain, and then the pain comes because you've turned up the volume on your pain sensation. The actual anatomical injury didn't get worse, but you expecting the pain, like if I stand up guarding my low back, expecting there to be an ache, there's going to be an ache.
Yeah.
Because you're tuning up your volume. It's like you listening very intently. You're going to hear a little bit better than if you're just listening passively. So I agree that that's absolutely happening. I think there's probably a middle ground somewhere where we can use tech to help guide us to see when need to change intensity on given days and see how our bodies respond. But in reality, I think needs to be so individualized that we're still in the process of gathering data, but making decisions off of poor data or not enough data.
Yes. It should be a measure.
Yeah.
It should be another tool, like an ice bath is a tool. Getting a massage is another tool.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't spend my time throughout my career trying 1,000 different things for recovery. Okay, what are the couple that are going to make me feel the best? And that was massages and that was ice baths. And I did them both religiously. And, aside from eating well and hydrating and all that other stuff. Of course. But I consistently did those. And so I think now you've got, all these modalities and all these different things that are coming out. I don't think athletes are as consistent with doing what they need to do, those couple things that they need to focus on and do to make them feel great.
I don't disagree, Carly. That's why I pulled this video together of the worst fitness mistakes my patients make. Click here to check it out. And as always, stay happy and healthy.